broadcast. We are live on Facebook. We are live on all other walls on which we broadcast. And we are pleased to know that you are out there doing the listening. This Sunday is the last Sunday in the month of March, and we usually handle a health topic. And what we have today may not be totally health, but it is health all the same because it has to do with the human body. The topic is called abortions. So we're going to be talking about abortions, and to get us started, we're going to say, zoom in on 514-199-5854. That is, let me go back, 514-199-854, and you'll be in our Zoom connection. So welcome to the program. Welcome to Africa Online Media Corporation. We will be starting in a minute. Of course, not up to a minute anyway, that's just a way of talking. We're going to start right away with our editorial. We will just want to say that our co-host will be joining us shortly. And then, of course, we will have the program, and our chief host will be here later on in the program. Of course, we can get started right away. So we'll go ahead now with our editorial. Welcome to the program. It is March 27. It is a Sunday. March 27 is the 86th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. We therefore have just 279 days left until the end of the year 2022. This day in the United States in particular marks the anniversary of the establishment of a permanent navy by the government of the emerging country called the United States of America. That was way back when they were just growing. Of the 8 holidays listed for March 27, just one retains our attention, even though we'll be mentioning some others. So today is World Theater Day, which is celebrated every March 27, designated by the International Theatre Institute, ITI, in 1961. This day, March 27, International Theatre Day, celebrates the essence, the beauty, and the importance of theatre arts, their significant role in entertainment, and the symbolic impact that theatre has on life. On this day in 1866, the United States President Andrew Johnson, he had just succeeded President Abraham Lincoln 2 years earlier, vetoed the Civil Rights Bill, which later became the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of these United States. That 14th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified on July 9, 1868, and granted citizenship to, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States, end of quote, which included former slaves recently freed. In addition, it forbids states from denying any person, quote, life, liberty, or property without due process of law, end of quote, or to, quote, deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, end of quote. By directly mentioning the role of the states, the 14th Amendment to the US Constitution greatly expanded the protection of civil rights to all Americans, and it cited in more litigation, and it's cited in more litigation than any other amendment. On this day, that is, we're going to a different topic now. On this day in 1884, well, not George Orwell's 1884, but the actual 1884. So on this day in 1884, the first long distance telephone call was made from Boston to New York, Boston, Massachusetts to New York in New York State. On this day in 1899, the first international radio transmission between England and France was achieved by the Italian inventor G. Marconi. On this day in 1998, coming closer to home, In the United States, of course, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approved the prescription drug Viagra, becoming the first pill for male impotence. Of the several 2022 daily holidays, as we already said, that fall on March 21, we retained this particular one, Black Marriage Day, which is today, or is it generally celebrated on the fourth Sunday in March, and of course, along with World Theatre Day that we spoke about earlier, as we mentioned earlier. So this past week, of course, on Africaonline Media Corporation, we focused on the topic abortions. Announcing that topic last Monday, we said, among other things, quote, without going into questions of faith, human interactions or interdependent or interpretations rather, the verb to abort means to end something before it gets to its full potential. Thus, we can abort a mission before it kicks off or starts, or we can abort plans to discuss this topic if it is socially inconvenient for so many of us. Well, we wouldn't do that, however, because as it goes, Africaonline shines the light and is always delighted to close the month or each month with a health topic, the health topic today being abortions. As it was and as it is, we are going to delve into that topic sooner rather than later, and we're looking forward to having our Chief Medical Officer in the house to clarify us on some of the things that have to do with abortions. But what is an abortion, and should it be a practice in our societies? What is your take on what some have called the deliberate termination of life? President Ronald Reagan once said, quote, I've noticed that everybody that is for abortion has already been born, end of quote. So should we, who are already enjoying life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, be talking the language of abortion in the first place? Tertullian, whom I cannot boast I know much about, left us with this line of thinking, quote, to forbid birth is only quicker murder. He is a man. Who is to be a man? The fruit is always present in the seed, end of quote. Yes, the seed becomes the plant, but to snap it even before it sprouts is to deny it its place under the sun. That is why Mother Teresa of Calcutta left us with this to reflect on, quote, how can there be too many children? That is like saying there are too many flowers. In our world today, with climate change depriving us of some of the greatest beauty that Mother Nature knows how best to provide, we need more flowers. We need more beauty. We need more of the outdoors, and we need more glorious moments to look up to cherish, and to relish. I am just me, and hope I have not swayed you left, right, front, back, or center. You are who you are, and you have a right to be here because you are a child of the universe. With that being said, we will delve into the program, hoping that you have something to say about abortions, whatever it is, because we need to educate our people, we need to shed the light so that our people do not perish for lack of knowledge. That being said, I will look around and see our Chief Executive Officer is not able to join live. She's on, but she's not able to come live. And our co-host is not able to come live just yet. And we are going to see, I have to scrutinize my glasses here. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Urgoji, is in the house. He is our main guest today. Hello, Dr. Urgoji. Good afternoon, good evening, good day to you, speaking from the Northwest of the United States. How are you today?
I am doing fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Yes, the topic today, as you know, is abortions. And this is something in your area. You deliver babies, not terminate them. So what should we, in a word, say actually is an abortion as far as human beings are concerned?
Well, abortion can be defined as termination of pregnancy before viability. So if pregnancy is terminated before viability, viability means when the baby is most likely going to survive outside the uterus. However, there's what we call spontaneous abortion, which occurs if for some reason a woman is pregnant and the baby decides not to go to viability and have spontaneous abortion. Spontaneous means that it happens without any aid. I'm sure for today we're talking about induced abortion, which is a choice. The woman that is pregnant doesn't want a baby and have an abortion and terminate the pregnancy. So, and viability for me is internationally is any gestation age above 23 weeks of age. So when a woman is pregnant, the phase of the last menstrual period is day 1. So 23 weeks from the phase of the last menstrual period is called viability, because most baby after 23 weeks will survive. But again, this definition is also relative, because if a baby is born at 23 weeks in sub-Saharan Africa, that baby can be called, even at 24 weeks, 25 weeks can be called abortion, because most babies before 28 weeks born in resource-poor countries doesn't have adequate newborn care to make the baby survive. Meanwhile, if a baby is born at 24 weeks in the US, in a good resource center with good NICU is a newborn care, or what do you call them, incubation for children, they will survive. So in Africa, viability is 28 weeks plus. In resources country is 23 weeks plus, because they can take care of very small babies in developed country. It doesn't mean that there's a story of one baby that's 24 weeks in Africa that survives. But most of 4 weeks in America will survive, while only 1 or 2 in Africa will survive.
Yes, Dr. Urgoji, but we know that from creation, the word was go forth and multiply. Why do we have to talk about abortion today in the 21st century?
It is a very special topic because we talk about abortion. So abortion, we talk about a baby that has no control. The baby is in the womb. But the woman who has a baby has control of her own life. So from a medical standpoint of view, if the woman's life is in danger, doctors will recommend termination, because if a woman has 4 or 5 children and have a baby that's like going to kill her, and the baby is only, and the pregnancy is only 20 weeks, 17 weeks, you cannot sacrifice that woman's life for a baby that is very unlikely to survive. Because that baby, if the woman dies at 20 weeks pregnant, the woman is dead, baby is dead. However, if we believe that this woman is going to die from this pregnancy, doctors recommend termination, because when they terminate pregnancy, the woman will survive and take care of the other babies that she has. That is medical standpoint. Of course, from religious standpoint, no matter what happens, everybody have a right to live. So the Catholic Church will say, or most religious organizations say, you know what? We are not God. How do you know this woman is going to die from this pregnancy? Of course, they are right sometimes. So let's pray to God for the woman to survive and the baby survive. If she dies, the baby dies, that's okay. That's from religious standpoint. From religious standpoint. Of course, from a personal standpoint, one of my personal view. So what I'm saying today is not my personal view, is individual personal view. When a person is pregnant, they decide what they want to do. They say, I own my life first, and my kids have their own life. So if I'm not ready to take care of the baby, I will terminate the pregnancy. That is individual. Of course, culturally, abortion is something whereby people talk about it freely in the developed world. A woman will walk to me, I'm pregnant, I want an abortion. In some cultures, it's a no-no. That they will not even tell their mom, they will not tell their brother, they won't tell anyone, and they're going to do an abortion. So in this part of the world, a mother will bring her daughter to me or to the abortionist, to the doctor, the abortion, say, hey, my daughter is pregnant, we talked about it, we want an abortion, and it happens. In other parts of the world, like in Africa, whereby sex is a taboo until you get married. It doesn't happen in my backyard. It's some other bad kids that does sex. So the girl who is 16-year-old get pregnant and go get abortion without the mom knowing. Of course, and I say this, I've said this all the time, in our society where if you have a baby at home, then you are the bad girl. Chance of getting married to a young man of an age becomes minimal. They rather have married a girl that have never had a baby. So in that perspective, I say this all the time. If my sister, thank God my sister, the oldest one I have is 20-something. If my 15-year-old sister come to me and say, brother, I went to John's house and +1 + 2, something happened, and I missed my period. I'll say, well, my dear, I may not even tell my mom. I'll take her to somebody that can take care of this. That's not my belief, but I don't want my sister who's 12-year-old to have a baby at home. So I pray, thank God that didn't happen to me. Of course, if my sister who's 20-year-old comes to me and say, brother, I went to Mr. John's house and he raped, XYZ happened, and he got pregnant, I say, well, you know better, go take care of it. So this is a culture thing. So you don't want a daughter who is 13-year-old, still in primary school, secondary school, trying to make her life to get pregnant from one 14-year-old boy who cannot take your baby. Again, that is my belief. Abortion is wrong for me, religiously wrong, morally wrong, everything wrong. But if my sister or daughter who is 13, I have to put personal, religion, and societal things in context and decide what I want to do. Of course, if I live in this part of the world where abortion is, people don't try it, it might be a different approach. So it all depends on individuals. But
okay, I'll go to Sister Ruth Presley. I know you're always with us on Sundays. Now we're talking about a very sensitive topic, abortions. What is your take on that topic, following what you've heard Dr. Urgoji said and what you know about it?
Well, my take on abortion is it is a life, and that whether from the moment of conception, that's a life to me. No matter what the government may say, and then on the other hand of it is you cannot legislate sin. And the bottom line is it is the woman's choice, unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on how. This is really is a hot topic because I've had in my life people under very much distress about being pregnant and actually having that child. Do we just make them do it? And sometimes people, well, you can give it up for adoption, but it's truly a personal choice as to what to do with that life that God has entrusted you with. I personally, like I said, I believe that it is that baby is life, and it's up to the woman. That's all I'm going to say on the subject for now.
Okay, we turn now to Sister Deborah Wilburn. She's smiling there, not for joy, but she just feels that she should be happy because happiness is one of the things we are striving for. So Sister Wilburn, welcome to the program again, Sister Deborah.
Thank you. My take on abortion is I'm against it, though I believe everybody has their own personal choice. And the reason I'm against it is because I believe God is against it. Like I said, everybody has their own choice and you don't know the situation or why they want one and so forth. So I believe it should be left up to the person.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bitazon. We know you're in the house. I'll be coming back to you in a minute. Let me go to Brother Ronald Joseph first, then I'll come back to Dr. Bitazon. Brother Ronald.
Yes. My mother had 7 children, so she didn't believe in abortion. And I have 2 sisters, and neither do they. I think abortion is a personal choice because I think that if a woman has been raped or if the child is going to be handicapped or something like that to a point where they can't take care of the baby, then maybe they may consider abortion. But other than that, I don't believe in abortion.
Okay, that's your take. We will be turning to Dr. B. Tazon in a second. But before I do, this is what Ronald Reagan had to say about this. Many Americans believe in him. I've noticed, he said, that everybody that is for abortion has already been born. Dr. B. Tazon, yes, aren't we talking about it because we're already here?
I'm so sorry that I'm not coming on video right now, but I just wanted to weigh in on this conversation. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
This is a very sensitive topic, and it usually irritates me when people try to make it a legal matter. For one thing, a lot of people are speaking from a place of privilege and they don't even quite see it. And another thing is a lot of people are speaking from a place of insensitivity. As a human being and as a Christian, I don't believe in abortion. But as a human being also, I don't think I have any right to impose my thought on another person, especially if I don't understand their circumstances. They've talked about rape. That's an incident. And another thing we're forgetting, one, rape is an assault on the person. And it doesn't end with the pregnancy. If they keep it, the child becomes traumatized. A lot of women, when they have those children, they mistreat the children because the children are a direct reminder of their trauma. A lot of times now, even in this country, they're legalizing rapists having parental rights. So you can imagine the trauma on top of the trauma. You forced me into something I didn't want to be in. And now I have to deal with you for the rest of my life because I'm sharing something with you. So we're not looking at all those things that people are thinking about. There's a part of finances, there's a part of support systems. There are so many things. There's incest that happens. And it's easy for you and I to say that the person should not commit an abortion. What would you do if you're in their shoes? You know, a lot of people who say that people should not commit abortion, they have done it with children. You know, a lot of these people, they have been committing. There's one guy, one gynecologist, I think it's Louisiana, Dr. Louis Desjardins or Scott Desjardins, something like that. He says he's pro-life, he's pro-family, he's pro this and that. But this man was married. He was a serial philanderer. He caused a lot of he even slept with some of his patients. He got them pregnant and he forced them to commit abortion. He even forced his wife to commit an abortion, but he's going around telling people he's pro-life and he does not believe in abortion. So there's so much hypocrisy around this thing. I really think we have no business getting in and telling people what they should be doing. We should teach people morals. But we should also create an environment where people can carry out their morals. If I am hungry and I don't have food and I don't have money and I don't have access to food, I cannot tell you that I won't steal food to eat. But see, if you have food in your house, you can always tell somebody it's not okay to steal, don't rob another person. Most of the times people do those things because of the circumstances in which they find themselves. So I think a bigger part is creating an environment where people have better choices to make because human beings are only as faithful as their options. If we allow women say, okay, if you have this baby, we can take it away from you without creating any drama. We can put it up for adoption for you, or we can provide resources for you to give up the baby if you want to. We should give people so many options that they feel comfortable saying, I can keep this or I cannot. Otherwise, I think it's really unfair and unjust that we impose things on people. I just read an article today. This guy he killed his 2-year-old daughter. He's 26. He murdered her. And the reason is because he has been ordered by the court to pay $167 a month for child support. So obviously this child was not wanted. So yeah, maybe the mother did not commit abortion, she carried through, but the man murdered the child. And my whole thing is that if we care so much about human life, it shouldn't end with pregnancy. It should go through the spectrum of life from pregnancy all the way onto death. We should show enough with the same level of passion because people only do what they feel they are capable of handling. If I feel that I can have this baby and I can have resources to help me raise them well, most women are not going to choose abortion. Now, there are still cases where there's trauma and so on. And it is not for me because maybe my faith can carry me through that trauma, but somebody else's faith is not able to carry them through. And it is not okay for me to now impose my thoughts and my wishes on that person. That's something that we should be praying for them about, provide them enough support and wish that they would do the right thing or they will do what is acceptable. But it is not for me to judge them and condemn them. And I hope that this is another perspective that people will be looking at when they're talking about abortion.
Yes, while we cannot impose our opinions on people, We have to educate the public so they know better what they are doing, especially our young girls of this day, whereby they jump into the river believing that they will not get wet. Then when they get wet, they start seeking for that the nearest fire to dry themselves off. So, Dr. Urgoji, what should we tell young girls between the ages of 13 and 21, if I can put it that way? I may be stretching it a little too much.
Well, before I dive into that, okay, when I was in residency training, I went to a clinic where they do abortion. It was in Nigeria. I met 10 women who just finished an abortion, just finished having an abortion. In Nigeria, abortion is illegal. Both the abortionee and the abortionist. Abortionist is a patient, the abortionist is a doctor, are liable to up to 10 years imprisonment for getting involved. So what happens is that when a lady is pregnant, she goes to a doctor, she gives fake name, fake age, fake everything to commit abortion. The doctor says menstrual irregularity, correction of menstruals, and do the abortion. So everything is, nobody says abortion because it's illegal. So the judge finished abortion, I said, first question, is abortion, should it be legalized or not legalized? All 10 says it should not be legalized. All 10. Next question, is abortion right or wrong? All 10 say abortion is wrong. Next question, if your daughter is pregnant, would you recommend abortion to her? They say, oh no, she will have the baby. So what am I saying? They all gave me the opposite answer of what they have just done. So put yourself in the shoe of a young lady who is 17-year-old, pregnant to a boyfriend who is 18, has no job, and in a society whereby having a child in your mother's house is not acceptable. In this part of the world, it's acceptable. Most people support their kids through the pregnancy and have the baby. Then whatever they do is up to them. So that's why I don't impose your personal belief. Me as a doctor, come to me, I'm pregnant, I don't want it. I say, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. However, go talk to your mother, go talk to the father of the baby, sleep over it, and talk to your spiritual director and make your choice. So what I'm gonna do with my own daughter or my own very young sister is different. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I pray I don't find myself in that situation. So to answer your question, young girls between the age of 13 and 25. The first thing I tell them is, I know what, sex is supposed to be meant for marriage couples, people are married. That's one. Number two, young men under the age of 29 are more likely to have more than one girlfriend. Young men under 29 are more likely to have more than one girlfriend. Young girls under 25 are more likely to have more than one boyfriend. That's my statistics. Men 29 and below have multiple girlfriends. Women 25 and below have multiple girlfriends. Doesn't mean all of them, but these general statistics. Therefore, no matter what it tells you, the chances that you have some other woman somewhere else that he's sleeping with is there. So for your own health, if you must do this, use a condom. If you must, first, don't do it, wait until you get married. But if you must, use protection for STD. Of course, I would recommend most parents, when their kids about 15 or 16, talk to them, advise them not to do this thing. However, tell them whenever you choose you want to have sex, please let me know. We'll talk about it. Your religion believes that contraception is not good. It's use natural family planning. is your belief. If you imbibe your kid in that religious belief, the chance that you're gonna wait until she's old enough or get married to have sex is high. But if she shows any interest that she's not gonna do this thing, I will encourage you to take her to the doctor, let her alone sit with the doctor and have a talk about sexuality and make a decision without you influencing the decision to the best of your ability. Most enlightened parents in this part of the world, before their daughter goes to college at 17, they take them to the doctor and say, talk to the doctor about birth control so that the doctor can provide contraception for them. So when they go to college, they come back home after graduation with just 1 degree, not 2. Again, my personal belief that really birth control is not, you should do natural family planning, should not influence, I shouldn't impose that to my daughter or people I know. I should let my belief, in my belief, and talk to the girls that they have options to seek contraception, seek STD prevention, seek sexual health in an unbiased way. Tell them what's going to happen if they get pregnant.
Yeah, we're turning to Dr. B. Tazong because we also have a question from Reverend Pam, which has been partially answered by Dr. Urgoji, educating the child. So is it the home to blame? Did the parents not raise this child well enough? Or who is to blame, Dr. B. Tazong?
So I think playing the blame game doesn't really help. I think the education part, Dr. Urgoji covered the part of, contraception and stuff, but there's a lot of other things that we just need to get clean and talk with our children about. I think one of the little things that we are in a culture where people play blame game a lot. It's this person's fault. If he says no, if I say no, the guy should stop. For me, what I'm going to tell my child up front is don't even put yourself in a situation where a guy can put his hands on you. Don't be in that situation. Don't meet men in private places by yourself. If somebody sees you and they say hello to you, don't agree to meet them in their room, or if you're in a hotel, meet them in the lounge, have a conversation, and then if you need to get security, get them to get you to your room and lock the door. Don't go to people's houses by yourself, because the truth of the matter is that if a guy overpowers you, there's not much you can do about it. So those are parts of prevention. Keep your feet closed. I know that in this culture where we are, in the current generation and the current dispensation, people feel like it's my right. I have a freedom right to do whatever I want with my body. Well, the problem is that you may have a right to do what you want with your body, but you're not going to walk away from the consequences. If it's not STDs, it may be a pregnancy. And how many abortions can you do before you destroy your body? In fact, if you're unlucky, even the first one may mess you up. So I think we need to just be up close and personal with our children. And unfortunately, women are the ones who carry pregnancy. And that's why I'm talking to the girls. But even your sons, tell them, really, you should not be engaging in this activity. It's not necessary for your well-being. You have a whole lot of life ahead of you. You have a whole lot of adulthood when you're thinking clearly and you're in a better position to make better decisions. You don't need to do this now. It can wait. It's complicated. Even for adults, it's complicated. For children, it's even more complicated. You don't need to do this. You're not missing out on anything. You should have your time. You should have your opportunities. Just be patient. I think parents don't want to get up close and personal with their children with those things. Tell them the truth. This is what happens. A guy can overpower you, and there's nothing you can do. So don't put yourself in a position where somebody can take advantage of you. Don't go to places at night by yourself. There are some things, it's not taking away your right, it's protecting your integrity. People look at it as, I have a right to do whatever I want to do. Don't go to a party and be drinking alcohol. Don't go to a party and be smoking things that you don't know anything about, or be drinking punches. I've had a girl who was raped come into the office and she was messed up and she told me she drank something. I'm like, I am an adult. I go to parties. I do not touch things that I don't know, because I like to be aware of my environment. One of the easy ways for people to get assaulted is to lose control of their senses. And so those are little things that we need to tell children, like there are mistakes that you can make. Even children that have good parents that have taught them, if you don't tell them these little things, they can get themselves caught up in those situations and then they're not able to get out, and then they find themselves making decisions that are not the best for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We turn now to Sister Ruth. Tell us, you say you are not into that. Yes, I know we are all not into that. But somebody like Dorothy E. McBride tells us that this thing we're talking about, abortion, is because of the so-called sex revolution that has taken over our community, our society. And everybody believes that, oh, because I have apples on my chest, I am ripe enough to let everybody climb that tree of yours. No, should it be so? Is maturity something that girls should take for granted and then go for sex even when they shouldn't do it?
Are you asking
Sister
someone?
Ruth? Yes,
Oh, okay.
Sister Ruth.
I wasn't sure if you were asking me or someone else on the panel.
No, it's Sister Ruth.
Okay, so the question is, should girls have the right to, I'm sorry, I want to
No,
make
not the
sure.
right. Should they just let go because they think that they are already mature enough to do as they please?
No, they should not let go because they believe they're mature enough to do as they please. My mother told me, you don't have to experience everything to know that you don't want to experience everything. I think that the young girls need to talk to an adult, a woman that understands those things. My good friend who was helping young girls out, one of the things that they were taught was learn your no game so that when the question comes up, you're prepared to say no. And the guy knows exactly where you stand on premarital sex. A lot of times our girls get into a room and they have no idea what's going on. And the next thing you know, they're in trouble because we have this in our society. I have a beautiful, almost 13-year-old niece. And sometimes I just say to her, you are still a child. Because anybody who has 13-year-olds know, sometimes they think they're grown and they know stuff. And it's like, you're still a child and there's lots for you to learn. We have to be proactive in teaching our girls and our young men because they also need to be responsible for their decisions. That was another thing I learned from my mom. You are responsible for the choices that you make and there's consequences to them. But at 13 years old, what do I know about consequences? He's cute. He thinks I'm cute. I like him. He likes me. We're in love. I'm going to marry him one day.
One day may not be tomorrow.
I'm going to get married. We're going to be together forever. And I tell the other thing is your brain isn't even fully developed at 13. You have no idea. We have to have those real talks with our children to let them know the sanctity and what it means to actually commingle and have sex with someone. Some people just think it's like having a Happy Meal from McDonald's. It has become that easy in this country that it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And we need to bring it back to it is a big deal. You have now made a soul tie with this person.
That's right. That's right. It's like, let's just try it. Nothing going to happen. You never know what will happen. Reverend Solange, our Chief Financial Officer, is in the house, and I want to turn to her. She has an opinion on this problem. Reverend Solange?
It looks like she dropped off again.
Oh, okay. All right, we will move on.
She's back.
And yes, she's back. Okay, go ahead. Should our young girls take for granted, should our young boys take for granted that what they're doing is just having fun? Okay, Dr. Urgoji, we turn to you.
Well, again, I still maintain that we all can say no sex, no premarital sex. That's the preaching we should preach. But in the US, according to statistics, it's about 12 per thousand. So 12 per thousand women have abortion a year. That's in every 1,000 children have an abortion. 1 in 4 women will have an abortion in their lifetime. That's from the age of 18 to 45. 1 in 4 have abortion. Compared to developing country, it's about almost 40 per thousand. and almost 2 in 4. The reason is this part of the world, as much as we preach, again, I'm talking from the standpoint of a doctor now, we preach no to seek premarital sex. We also preach STD prevention. We preach contraception. In our part of the world, contraception is a no-no, it's not discussed. STD prevention is not discussed. In fact, women don't even say no or yes to sex in developing country. In fact, the country with the highest abortion is Jamaica. And for some reason, that's what they said. In that part of the world, women are taught not to, if they say yes to sex, they appear to be loose. They will say no, no, no until something happens. Why in this part of the world, the people discuss it with their family, their parents, and say, look, you try to dissuade your child, don't do this. But if your child starts telling, no, this boy, I like this boy, blah, 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 you take her to the doctor, let her have one-on-one talk with the doctor. Doctor will tell her the consequences of her actions. And I tell girls, if you get pregnant, you're the one that will drop out of school for 9 months. You're the one to nurse that baby. You're the one to inconvenience your mom and dad to raise that baby with you. Why the guy will continue his schooling? The worst you can do is ask him to pay child support, which he doesn't have the money until he gets a job. So we preach no to premarital sex, tell them to say no, no, no. And trust me, a man and a woman in a bedroom, door locked, not brother, not sister, anything can happen. So if my daughter goes to go see her girlfriend in her house, no sleepover, come back home. And when you go to your girlfriend, if he has a brother, don't go to the brother's room and play with him. It's no. You go, anything can happen. So don't allow yourself to be in circumstances that you cannot control it. Don't find yourself in a bedroom with a young man who is not your brother or sister. Even if your cousin, incest do happen. Brothers who get their nephews who get their cousins pregnant in this part of the world. It's terrible. But just be vigilant. That's what I would say.
That being said, let me throw a general question out there. Is there a particular age bracket at which abortions are most prevalent? Anybody can go, please.
Before
some of these open-ended questions.
18
yeah,
to 20,
Dr. Urgoji?
18 to 24.
18 to 24. Okay,
highest.
Dr. B.
I have not kept up with those statistics at this time.
18 to 24, yeah.
But I'm sure that's pretty accurate because that's when people are most experimental in their lives.
But should children turn to experiments? They are not in a science laboratory here. They're talking about their bodies.
You know, we are living in a time when experimentation with the human body is seen as being, it's en vogue. It is what people are doing now. I want to pull an attention to something that is happening right now, and I've had to deal with it with my own children. Right now, there's experimentation, not just about sex, but also about gay sex. You know, I have my 12-year-old, some kid was propositioning him in school. I had to call the school and tell them, I don't want any sexual harassment. My kids are here to study. So there's, even when you're trying to avoid problems, there are so many people out there that are wayward, and you'd be surprised how many children get innocently dragged into these things. Even girls now, I mean, girls and girls, boys and boys, I don't trust too many people right now. If I don't know what you're up to, I'm not sure of what your belief is, and I cannot see what you're doing, I really don't trust you because people are pushing a lot of things. So we may be looking at it from an adult standpoint and from a different time, that why are you experimenting with your body? But for these people, they think that their body is something to be experimented with because that's what the culture has been pushing. And also, if you watch a lot of children's programs, there's a lot of sexual stimulation going on. So these children really are under pressure. And as parents, we need to do our best to help them. We need to do our best to stay on top of things, to be aware, to keep communicating with them, and to keep being the louder voice in their ears so that we can keep them out of trouble.
Sister Deborah, what's your take?
I've come to see that they're going to do what they're going to do. No matter what you say to them, how you say it to them, how you show them, you can give them statistics. They're still going to wind up doing what they want to do, unless they were taught from a young age up and it's ingrained in them. But for the most part, nowadays, it's children raising children, so they don't get that education.
Where do we place schools in this discussion? Are schools, because they are mixed, to be blamed for letting boys and girls interact just anyhow? Are teachers not being vigilant enough? Are principals not being vigilant enough in spite of the availability of cameras in the school buildings?
Well, before we talk, I want to make one comment, okay?
Yes.
Okay. The other day I was in my house trying to dance with my kids. We're dancing. I was picking up a song with dance. My son said, "Do you know what they call industrial baby?" What I said, no, don't do that. Don't. I said, "What's going on?" I said, "I need to find out what this song about."
Yes.
So my kids got so scared that I'm going to find out what the song's about, and they got really angry. My son was okay. Why not put industrial baby Roblox? I put it. Roblox. We all know Roblox is kids game. So this industrial baby Roblox, which is a very common game, kids are singing and dancing every day. So do you imagine you're going to put industrial baby in Google? What you're going to see, it will shock you. So why should Roblox use a song that is so horrible to put in the Roblox thing? Just Google industrial baby, you see what you see, you'll be shocked. You put industrial baby Roblox, it's complete different thing. Why should they have the same name? I do not know. So technology and what they are teaching kids nowadays is horrible. I mean, my kids were so scared. They know what I'm going to do. They have to force me to put industrial baby Roblox. I watched that. I was okay with it. Then, and I figured out they tried to look for industrial baby, and that nasty video came up for me to watch. So the internet has messed up our children. And every
so what? Yeah, go ahead.
So every kid wants to know what industrial baby is, and if you put it in a Google, it gives you something else. Unless you put Roblox, it gives you a kid-friendly something. So I don't know what to do. The
That
teachers,
being said, what should parents do? Yeah, you don't know what to do. What should parents in general do with that? Technology is becoming the babysitter of the 21st century.
I think that parents need to take responsibility for what goes into their children's what they're watching. And I know because I was a child, we didn't have all this electronic stuff, but
That's
we
right.
knew how to sneak around, do things our parents told us not to do. But the internet is 24/7. And when my 12-year-old niece, my beautiful genius, is spending the night with me, I take her electronics away from her when it's time to go to bed. Because you might think your child's sleeping, but they're actually on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be vigilant from the time they're small and let them know what God says about this behavior and bring them into a relationship, a moral relationship beyond don't do this, don't do that, da 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 da. This what does your relationship with God look like, child? And God is with you and he's for you. So be mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then not to be bullied or pushed into doing things. Kids love to push you into things and dare you to do something or try something. But beyond the consequences of getting pregnant or not getting pregnant, you can contract a disease that will kill you playing around like this. It's life or death for your child, for our children. So we need to be vigilant and let them see what God says about this type of behavior.
Reverend Solange, are you able to join us now? I see. Please unmute yourself and join the conversation. Reverend Solange? Not quite. So, Brother Donald, or Ronald, sorry, I keep saying Donald, Ronald. So.
Yes.
Dr. B's hands are up.
Okay, Brother Ronald, you hold on. We'll go to Dr. B. Yes.
Okay, yes. I think a lot of children are susceptible to a lot of peer pressure from other children, and they play games that have to do with sex or any other thing, and they are in that experimental stage. And also, sometimes they are victim of older children or adults taking advantage of them by introducing sex to them. And so they grow up being promiscuous. But I believe that if they have good parents or parents who know a lot about life, they can teach them to do better and to avoid those type of consequences.
Dr. B?
I just wanted to buttress what Sister Presley said about parenting. There is no substitute for good parenting. You cannot hire somebody to do it for you. And I think this is really something that us as parents need to start just realizing. Like, you cannot be working every day and not be present in your children's life and say you're making money. You're going to miss a lot of important stuff. And by the time you wake up from sleep, your kids will be messed up. There are so many things. We have to be observant. We have to be aware. We have to engage the children as much as possible. Like I said, we have to be the loudest voice they hear because they're hearing way too many voices. And then even with, there are so many cases where children have been raped by older family members or caretakers in the house. They've been assaulted. We have cases where we're in trust. So when I leave my kids with certain people, I don't leave them with too many people. But when I leave them with certain people, I pay attention. If their behavior changes or they become moody or something goes on, I am very aggressive about that. And then just little things, I tell the children, I am your parent, okay? I mean well for you. And if you notice, as my kids get a little older, I teach them how to wash, take care of themselves, like wash their private parts, so that I don't have to wash those parts. They can wash it. I can stand there and tell them, this is what you do, this is what you do. So they learn that this is my private body part and nobody should be touching it. I said, well, when you get married, then you guys can decide what you want to do. But nobody, I don't care who it is, should touch you on any of these parts. I said, I am your parent, I don't do that. Nobody else, you should know that nobody can touch you on those parts. If anybody touches you the wrong way, anybody says something to you that is inappropriate, you need to let us know. We should not ignore children when they're aversive to certain adults, because those are all parts of the things that create this environment of abuse. And then they end up with a lot of other things, you know, like promiscuity, abortion, and all those other things that happen behind sex that is unwanted. And so I think that as parents, we should not cast aside our parental duties. That's the most important thing we can do for our children, because the damage that they experience will take years for them to get through. And some children never recover from those things. I can't tell you how many people I've taken care of that are still struggling in their 50s and 60s and 70s. They are still struggling with childhood trauma from certain things like this. And that's why I said, you know, when we're talking about abortion, there's so much else we're not looking at. What happened before this? What led up to this? How do we prevent it? How do we prevent people from being in situations where they have to make bad decisions? Because that's really how I'm looking at it. And I think that's a better way to approach it, because when we do that, we approach it with more compassion and with more solutions to a problem. Thank you.
I remember growing up in Africa, and as somebody later wrote a book titled, titled the way I want to say it, It Takes a Village to Raise a Child. In Africa, the child was the property of the entire village. And if a parent found a daughter or a son misbehaving somewhere, he had the right to punish that child before reporting to the parents. Even in the schools in those days, schools will call your parent to the school to punish you in front of other kids. But in this day and age, anything goes. Nobody is responsible for anything anymore. And a kid will tell you, you're not my dad, you're not my mommy, so don't tell me anything. So this is something that we have noticed in our systems, the different systems. But those of us on this program, some of you have been to Africa, what would you tell those kids on the streets of Africa, walking the streets? They are very unsafe, but many of them never get pregnant or never go for those promiscuous things. But what can we do to help them better understand that even though they are watching television, which is no longer government-controlled television in their countries, but they are watching international television sets or international television programs, What should they do? What should be their takeaway from what they watch? Dr. Urgoji?
Well, as I always tell people, TV is a film trick. What you see on the screen is not always real. The person that is the show has a reason, and that reason and the purpose the person want to transmit to the audience is what is a reason. Unfortunately, the world have changed. I always tell people when I was growing up, the popular music was those days of Bob Marley and Local Dube, those Rastafarians. Even our African music were all music with morals, education. Now, one teenager told is that I'm a star. That's a how come a star? When do you become a star? Oh, Dad, I'm a star. That's it. Oh, why? I can sing for it. That's okay, sing. You say, oh, baby, 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 sex, 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 sex. So the whole war is, if you want your name to be heard, you have to talk about sexuality and girls and women. That's what makes stars now. Unfortunately, that's the impression out there. Just like you have to dress naked for you to become a star, unfortunately. So it boils down to parenting. Don't, you have to start from home. Your daughter just out to go, I mean, you can buy the short skirts for your daughter, that's fine. As long as she's wearing at home, it's fine. Let her feel comfortable and say, wear at home if you want to, but she's going out, this is not for outside. So you cannot say no to those short things to your kid, you can say, but if you say no, as soon as they go to college, they wear it. But if they want to try it at home, you know, then you can tell them, you see, yes, please expose. This, your body is a temple of God. You have to protect it. So something with the TV. So what you watch the TV, they are trying to solve the environment of sexuality and sex being normalized. This is not normal. This is an absurdity. It's absurd, of course, but these things will happen. Again, I hate to say it doesn't happen. Sex doesn't happen in every woman's backyard until the daughter gets pregnant. So be proactive. This is wrong, but if you really want to do this, let me know. I will say I can support you. And if you doubt it, if you have that feeling that your daughter is going to start having this boyfriend do anything, take her to a doctor to have a one-to-one talk with the doctor. Most doctors will be open to you. Say, well, you shouldn't do it, I'm hoping. If you must do it, come talk to me. I tell my patients, you shouldn't have sex. If these are my teenagers, you shouldn't have sex until you get married, in fact, until you finish college and get married. But if you must do it, come talk to me. We can help you prevent pregnancy, prevent STD, and we encourage you to talk to your parents. And if you don't want to talk to your parents, we can hide the the console your parents will never get to know. Unfortunately, if you want my parents to know what to talk about, be willing to pay out of pocket. So there are ways to, I mean, pregnancy is the worst outcome, but having a baby doesn't make it a worse girl. A woman might have committed 20 abortions, and you have just got sex once and get pregnant, become the bad girl in the neighborhood.
And for that parent whose son wanted to be a star or is claiming that he's a star, just tell him fame is but a vapor. It vanishes the next morning. You will not be famous throughout your life because you sang sex, 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 baby, baby, baby. No, you will get wiped out by nature itself just by silencing you. So that said, also, I remember growing up in Africa again, the girl child was always told, sit with your legs closed. Never sit and open your legs like boys do, no. And that paid a price because many young ladies, even up to today, their grandmothers now, they still sit down with their legs closed. We never put anything into it. We just thought, well, that was a way of telling girls that girls are girls, they should sit in a certain way and boys should sit in a certain way. But it might have been discrimination, yes, but then it paid the price. I went to an all-boys secondary school and I was too shy to talk to girls. I never talked to girls until I went to university. I was like, oh no, this is a no-go area. Not that talking to a girl means having sex, but one thing leads to the other, and before you know it, something else is happening. I see our national anthem is buffering now. Reverend Pam, go ahead, let it go. Please don't go away, we'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll look at the consequences of pregnancies and abortions.
Oh no. Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, that indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africaonline Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does. To identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans. If we believe medical facilitation for Africans. If we believe stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africaonline miracle jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for for Africa. Together we shall succeed, together we will win. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. We are writing our own story, the truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies, Africans own Africa.
Yes, no more lies, no more lies. Africans own Africa. That said, this is Africa Online Media Corporation. We're discussing abortions, and we will be getting right back to you. But we just want to let you know that the topic next Sunday is going to be financial literacy. What? Financial literacy? Yes. Are you saying that we're financially illiterate? Maybe. So that is the topic we'll be handling next Sunday, financial literacy with Valeria Awagafo. We will get that on during the week. So please, that will be the topic, but also want to encourage whoever can to donate towards our Operation Borehole 55 on the continent of Africa. Africa Online Media Corporation undertook to build or to sink boreholes in 55 of the continent's countries, the 55 countries in the continent, that is. And the first one is operational now in Sierra Leone. The next one is going to start in Kenya. Construction is going to start in Kenya sooner rather than later. The one in Sierra Leone is been sunk. This is going to function with solar energy, and the electrician there voluntarily wired the delivery room, and they now have electricity in there from solar power. So that said, that is very important. Water is life. We want, because of this Operation Borehole, to make sure that we give African countries the possibility of having those health centers provided with potable water. That is very important. And I will not tell you that I know better than anybody else about this. I walked distances to fetch water, drinking water for my family. And these days, we still do that because in many parts of Africa, the access to potable water is still a problem. So please, if you can donate something towards Operation Borehole 55, go to our website, www.africaonlinetv.org, and make your donation. We appreciate every cent you donate. It is tax deductible, and we thank you for that. L'une des réalisations en cours d'Africa Online Media Corporation consiste à creuser des puits d'eau, de l'eau potable dans les divers pays africains. Il y a 55 pays en Afrique. On a déjà creusé au Sierra Leone, ça fonctionne déjà. Le prochain sera au Kenya. L'eau, c'est la vie. L'eau, c'est la vie. Water is life. Donc, faites votre contribution pour qu'on puisse continuer à creuser ce puits d'eau dans les divers pays africains. Vous pouvez aller sur notre site africaonlinetv.org et faire votre contribution. Merci beaucoup parce que nous sommes là pour sauver la vie. Et l'eau, c'est la vie. Thank you very much. And I think that being said, we will continue with our topic for today. That is, of course, abortions. But I see something in the chat room there. Somebody asked a question: who remembers spin the bottle, or truth or dare? I don't know anything about that. I think somebody can tell us what that is. Thank you. So please, we're returning now to our conversation. And they take us, if you ask the question, you can repeat it, so somebody will take the cue from you and answer. Who knows spin the bottle, or what was that? Or truth or dare?
I asked that.
Okay. Yes. What is that all about?
It was.
Well, they were games that were played when we were children. I never actually played them, but I heard about them, where truth or dare was they spin the bottle, and if it pointed to you, they'd ask you a question. You have to answer the question. If you didn't answer the question, you had to do the dare.
So, do they still play it today?
I don't know, but I guess that was our version of experimenting as kids. So
Well, yeah, to follow that up, one of the games I saw children play in my village when I was growing up was hide and seek. But later on, when I grew up, I realized that hide and seek had its bad side because the more mature girls were luring the younger boys to touch them in places that are supposed to be secret and private and totally untouchable. So I learned that when I grew up, when I went to secondary school and went back to the village, I was told the stories. I said, but I never played hide and seek, so I don't know what it implies. So those are some of the stories that go with these things. So what are the consequences of abortions, apart from being considered as a wayward girl in this community, or apart from, well, having the baby in the final analysis? So what are some of the consequences? Dr. Urgoji, you want to go first?
That's fine. Well, abortion is first, no matter how it's done, it has a very severe psychological implication in the patient, in the individual. When a woman commits an abortion, their mind, they know that they've done something wrong. The guilt stays there for long. That that they will sleep, they will ponder about it, they will wonder about it, and then some women after an abortion will wonder if something is wrong with their system. That if in future, God forbid, they have difficulty in conceiving, the psychological trauma will become worse. That God is trying to punish them from that. So psychological effect is one of the major ones that is very difficult to overcome. Number two, on the other side, it becomes a norm to some people. They say, if we a murderer, to kill the person the first time is the easiest one. So if you kill somebody the first time, you can kill and keep going. So second part is, if somebody commit abortion once and say, oh, it's not that bad, then that become more weird and go out and do their stuff anytime they want to do it and go for the abortion, especially where it is paid by the insurance. I'll go get it done. That's number two. So 2 ways: psychological trauma that torments the rest of their life. They have to keep praying for God's forgiveness, or it becomes normal to them that they now continue to do what they're doing. The solution for abortion. That's two psychological part of it. Another part, of course, medically, anytime there's an abortion, depending what we do, there's a medical abortion. Medical one, you give them pill they take. You can develop allergy to medication, you can have diarrhea, you can have things like that, but that's not common. Of course, if you have to do an instrumental abortion where you put something down there and try to suck out the baby, you can injure the bladder, injure the uterus, it can perforate the uterus, it can cause, in fact, women even die from unsafe abortion. That's why people in support of abortion usually use the excuse of unsafe abortion is dangerous, because in the places the US abortion is legalized and people go to doctor and get abortion, people don't die from it. Unlike in developing country where abortion is a no-no, then people do them at their backyard, then people develop sepsis and die from it. And then last but not the least, sometimes you do an abortion and it fails. You don't do it successfully, either through medication or through drugs, and then but you damage the baby. You now develop a baby that is severely malformed baby that you have to deal with the rest of your life. So psychologically, medically, and the baby itself, if the baby is not completely aborted, baby might develop injury when it's born.
Thank you so much. I will turn to Reverend Solange before I go to Dr. B. So Reverend Solange, I see you are back. Can you unmute and participate in the program? Abortions is the topic. Just abortion. Are you with us, Dr. Solange? I mean, Reverend Solange? Well, she's back, but maybe not able to unmute and join us.
If
Okay.
If she dialed in, she may have to hit *6 in order to unmute her line.
Oh, okay.
So
thank you for that. Yeah, thanks, Sister Deborah. Yes. Oh, Sister Ruth. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, Reverend Solange, I see you're unmuted now.
Yes, I'm on the road, so it's been difficult. Yeah, but I've been getting bits and pieces of it and all that. And as we know, we always say, but sometimes it's a matter of judgment. It's a judgment call when it comes to things like abortion. It's illegal, it's ungodly, because I feel that every child has a place. That being said, I've seen pathetic situations of incest where you weigh the pros and the cons, and you start thinking, this child growing up will be thinking, oh, my dad is my grandfather, or something like that. That's just going to confuse a child. And sometimes I cannot play God. We not God. And I always say it's a judgment call. I do not support it, but if that's what has to be done because that person feels that there's no way out for them, maybe let God be their judge. And I feel the woman's body, she not to make that decision. It's a very tough call. And I always say, you know what, let God be God. And let things just be the way they're supposed to be. Because when it comes to certain things about this topic, you don't even know what is right and what is wrong anymore. Every life is very, very valuable, no matter how that life came into being. But then again, there are circumstances that people feel trapped. People have been known to even take their own lives as a way out because of incest. So, really, I don't know. It's just a judgment call. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Solange. We're turning to Dr. Bitazon. Before she says anything, let me say this, because I know one of the consequences of abortion or even getting pregnant that I witnessed and lived through was the girl that was refused to continue school because she had become pregnant in school. She didn't commit an abortion. She ended up having the baby, but she was refused coming back to school. Dr. Bitazon, we're turning to you. What are some of the consequences, if not all the consequences, of abortion? Thank you.
There's something that is going on, especially on the continent right now. And I didn't quite realize it until I traveled home last year and we're talking about it. So because of this culture of sex, unwanted sex and unwanted abortions and so on, there's a cycle that is going on now. So I don't know if you've heard about it. A lot of times when people want to get married at home now, the guy would insist that the woman get pregnant before they get married. It's like, I don't know what you've been up to. I don't know if you can carry a baby. So I have to make sure that you can get pregnant before, because a lot of girls have been known to commit abortion now, even though abortion is illegal in Cameroon, for example. So a lot of times now the men feel like I have to test drive before I get this, and then it continues to feed into this cycle of unwanted things. And then, so we have now a cycle where people are doing things, they are getting themselves in situations that they don't like, they're making bad decisions. And the reason, like Dr. Urgoji said, one of the things that could happen, and especially back on the continent where most of the times abortion is done crudely, with dirty instruments and so on, a lot of women end up with terrible infections or damaged uterus. Some of them end up with damage to the uterus to the point with excessive bleeding to the point where they have to shut down the uterine artery, and that basically means they destroy your ability to reproduce. So what that does is that it creates a lot of infertility. And then now a lot of these men, when they want to get married, they say, well, if I don't try you out and make sure that you can hold a pregnancy, I'm not getting married to you. So it's a vicious cycle. You talked about the guilt. I think, and then there's a political aspect to it now where people are using it as a tool to oppress other people. Because if we look back to, there's another side of abortion that we have not really talked about here. Back in America, in the US of A and the Caribbeans and so on, a lot of Black women were committing abortion during the days of slavery. And it was strictly because they didn't want their children to leave what they were leaving. And so if you read the history of back then, the slave masters did everything to prevent abortions because of the pregnancy. A lot of those women had unwanted pregnancies, but the pregnancy to the master was wonderful because that was one more slave hand they were going to get. Because when you had a baby and you were a slave, that baby was automatically a slave too. And so they were raping these women. They looked for women that were strong. They looked for strong, hefty men to be raping these women. Even some of them would rape the women and have children because they knew they were going to have more hands. They didn't have to buy more slaves. So those women became very versed in committing abortion. I was just reading some of the history, and they said, they did everything to stop them, but those women knew all the herbs to concoct. I mean, you just couldn't stop them. So there's a lot of history to abortion. And so we look at it right now, we're just looking at the moral part, but we're not looking at the demons that were behind the people that were pushing for anti-abortion and all that stuff. And for a lot of women now, that's why it's not just a matter of freedom, but it's also a matter of trauma from generations past, where people have seen this as a way to control their own futures and their own outcomes. And I'm hoping that when we are addressing this abortion thing, we'll address all those associated traumas that are tied to circumstances in which people have to have unwanted pregnancies, and they feel that the only way to address the problem is to abort them.
Thank you very much. Sister Deborah, what are some of the consequences of abortion?
As someone else said, it can become an addictive type thing where they'll get pregnant and, oh, well, I can have an abortion. And they continue on in doing that till it gets to a point where they can no longer have children. I speak from experience in that, where I had, my daughter had gotten pregnant really, really early in age. And I talked to her and I took her around different people, had different people talk to her to try to persuade her to have an abortion at the time, because not only was she not ready for a child, I was not ready for grandchildren or other children, where I had 5 in the house already. And it turned out that she took that to be an okay, I can have an abortion. I get pregnant, I have an abortion, as opposed to not having the sex. So that's a consequence, and I've regretted it since, and I've repented as well. And now she can't have children, and that's the biggest thing of all, So we really have to think about what we're telling our children and what we're getting them to do. I have a granddaughter, and I'm proud of how her mother has raised her, and so far so good. And I just have to say that, because I, having gone through that and looking back for what I know now, I wouldn't have done that. If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have done that.
Thank you. Just hold your thought for the last round. We'll be taking the last round later on for your last word. Sister Ruth, your thoughts on consequences.
I believe a lot of the things have already been said, but it can be very psychological for the woman after the abortion, and wondering and thinking, what will that child have grown up to be, or what if I decided to have that baby? I think that's part of the consequences. The other part is just taking that responsibility that you have made the decision and being okay with that. Coming to a point where you forgive yourself so that you can live your life, because once it's done, it's done. And teaching our children, our young ladies, that you've done this and now we're going to work our way through it, because when the abortion is over, that's not the end of it. It's a process that we must go through. The other consequences are, it's been said by the doctor before, you can lose your life in the midst of an abortion. And I think part of wanting abortions legalized was to stop women from going into those butcher shops where they ended up maimed or not being able to have babies, or sick, or even dead. So we just have to keep our minds open despite our very personal beliefs, because I do believe that abortion is wrong, but I would never stop a woman from making that choice. or make
Thank
your
you. Yeah, thank you. Brother Ronald, what are some of the consequences that you know that you want to share?
Yes, I would like to share, topping off what Sister Deborah said about having an abortion and not being able to have any children. A friend of mine got pregnant when she was 18 by an older gentleman she was dating, and he didn't want the baby. So he paid for her to have an abortion. And until this day, she's in her 50s now. It's like a psychological trauma for her, simply because to compensate because she can't have any more children, she also spends a lot of money on other people's children and try to adopt other children for her to have that comfort of having a child that she missed out on because of the abortion.
Thank you so much. We'll be taking a round of the table shortly. Let me just share this story I got out of Ghana. A Ghanaian woman, Elizabeth Amar, she gave her name, is urging women not to suffer in silence. Hear what she told the BBC's Pigeon program. My name is Elizabeth Amar, the woman with 2 wombs, 2 cervixes, and 2 vagina canals. The 38-year-old Ghanaian was speaking, as I said, to the BBC's Pigeon program, to the lady who interviewed her. Favor, no, it's a Ghanaian herself. And she gave this revelation because she said, even though she was able to get pregnant in one of the wombs, she still feels bad about it. And she says, I can be pregnant in my right womb and still have my menstrual periods through my left. But her message to women is, my advice to women going through my kind of condition is, do not keep quiet. Do not suffer in silence. Seek early diagnosis and appropriate treatment. And remember, you are special. So if you have any condition that you think that you have, report it, say it to a doctor, say it to your doctor, say it to your parents, and who knows, you can be cured from things like that. I just thought I should share this story because we're talking about women and women illnesses, and of course today abortion, which is not an illness per se. At this point, I think I will start taking a round of the table, and I'm going to see if Reverend Solange is still there. Please, what are your last thoughts on the topic abortion?
Yeah, I'm still here. Okay, my last word is that abortion is really bad. There's a lot of guilt, as we've already discussed, that goes with it. And my advice is, before any girl or any woman wants to do something like that, they should seek deep counseling. They should talk to someone in the family, seek help from a professional, make sure they understand all the consequences before they do something like that. Because the consequences are far-reaching. It could last to your lifetime of guilt. So make sure you have proper counseling before doing something like that. Thank you, sir.
Brother Ronald, thank you. Thank you. Your last word on the program, abortion?
Yes, I would suggest that teenagers, females in particular, think twice before they engage in premarital sex, because having abortion can be very traumatizing and you do not know what to expect when you go through those changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to Sister Deborah. Your last words on abortion.
Think twice. Because as been said already, you don't know what the psychological effect is going to be. You don't know what the physical effect is going to be. You don't know how long it's going to manifest, because it's not an overnight process. So think twice.
Thank you very much. Sister Ruth, your turn now.
I would say, no matter what, remember that God loves you. No matter what your choices are, God will always love you. Go home to God when you make those choices. He's already forgiven you. So you forgive yourself. That's my final word.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bitazan, we're coming to you now for your last word on this. You mentioned something, and I will want to weigh in there and say, Please, if you know any girl or any boy out there, discourage them from tasting the fruits before they eat them. They just have to see the fruit, admire the fruit, and harvest it and have it forever and ever. Your last word, Dr. Bitazon.
Just to say, I think most of us on this panel agree that abortion is not ideal. It is not the best way to approach this problem, but we also agree that who are we to judge? What we should be doing is looking for ways to prevent people from getting into the bind in the first place. How do we prevent unwanted pregnancies? And how do we help people who are already in that difficult situation so they don't have to feel pressure to choose abortion? We're not going to sit here and judge you, because we have not won your shoes, but we pray that one, if you have made that mistake, you don't repeat it or you don't use it as a pathway forward. And number two, that if you're in a bind, you should reach out. There are people that are ready to help. There are people that are willing to help. And God especially is more than able to help you. And have a wonderful week.
Thank you very much. And on the chat, I see from our chair, if you do not want the baby, give it up for adoption. Too many childless couples are out there looking for children to adopt. Yes, indeed. So we go to our Chief Medical Officer and our main host today, Dr. Urgoji. What is your last word on the program?
Well, I like relating abortion like cigarette smoking.
We're not getting you loud and clear as before.
Can you hear me now?
Good. Thank you.
I like to compare abortion like cigarette smoking. Talk to any smoker in their 70, 50, 40, 20. They always regret why they ever did it. They just cannot stop. So, abortion, if you commit an abortion as a young girl, if you talk to anybody who have committed abortion in the past, they always end up regretting the act. I actually saw a 13-year-old girl last week came to me, and she's pregnant, first time sex pregnant. I said, she said, what do you want? He said, well, I want to have a baby. I said, good. Mom was outside, dad was outside, boyfriend was away. I said, well, go talk to mom, talk to dad, talk to boyfriend, decide, come back to me, I can take care of you to have the baby. I told her one thing, it's gonna be tough for you. School will be interrupted. People would think things are not right that you had a baby at 13, but by the time you're 33, you have a 20-year-old son or daughter. You look back and say, wow, is this my son? Is this my daughter? So having kids early is always the best, not ideal. So if it happens, count your losses and count your blessings. If you can survive that difficult time, the teenage pregnancy, school interruption, hopefully with family support, you finally achieve your career goal, finish high school, go to college if you want to go to college or find a trade, you will be happy. By the time you are 60, you have a son that is 40 or 50. You have ranking time, you will be happy about it. It's going to be tough, it's not easy, but not ideal. But most importantly, don't find yourself in that situation. So teenagers should not be having sex. They should be going to school. But if they make the mistake, we just have to love them and love them and love them. I want to conclude by saying there's a story that happened in Africa. Somebody caught somebody with somebody's wife. This young man was sleeping with somebody's wife, and he was found in the community. They said, well, he has to pay a fine for sleeping with somebody's wife. They gave him a fine to bring 10 cartons of beer, goat, chicken for the village for people to come and drink. So this guy was, he was a talk of the town. He was brought to a market square to punish him that he's bring all those things. Then one wise guy said, before we kill this guy, if anybody here in this environment, you have not slept with somebody's wife, please come and take the first drink.
Cast the first stone.
Everybody left one after the other. Except the teenagers. With the adolescent that come and because the sad is that this guy has nobody. He's an orphan. He has nobody to talk to him. They feel they can just make him pay for the crime he has committed. And you know that the person's wife who we were sleeping with was also guilty, but she was going scotch-free. The guy said, come and get a person. So it's like abortion. Sex is not right before marriage, but it happens, no matter what we do. So we try to stop it from happening. Then we try to also be liberal and say, if you must do this, please come talk to me. I'll say I can assist you. Assist me that you prevent the pregnancy, prevent STD. That's my last word.
Thank you so very much. And I want to go back where I started by quoting Ronald Reagan. I've noticed that everybody that is for abortion has already been born. Yes, if you were not born, you wouldn't be talking about abortion. Please avoid abortion the best way you can. Let us keep it behind the scenes and never let it be the primary part of our existence on this planet Earth. Next Sunday, we'll be talking financial literacy. So please join us next Sunday, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you again, thank you again, thank you again, and happy month of April, which is beginning next week. But don't forget, the 1st of April is All Fools Day. Don't be fooled, please. Don't go committing abortion because you got pregnant on that day rather than waiting for when you are 18 or 25. Thank you very much. And I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just talking. And it's been a great pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And bye for now.